Good afternoon, and thank you all for being here today. My name is Kyle Stone, and I am the Stark County prosecuting attorney. We have called this press conference to share and confirm the results of grand jury proceeding regarding the death of Frank Tyson while in police custody. No one is above the law, and no one is so far below it that they don't deserve its protections. All cases are presented the same, no matter who the person is. Justice and fairness for this office is a priority. As we have done with all prior officer-involved shootings and/or deaths, we await for BCI to complete their investigation, and they submit a report to my office. Once received in my office, then we review the information in its entirety. I generally read all of those reports to ensure that I have the best understanding of the case so that I may fully be aware and knowledgeable of the case when preparing and presenting to the grand jury. This case regarding Mr. Tyson was no different. Dennis Barr, my chief of the criminal division, and I reviewed this case in its entirety, and we presented it to the grand jury earlier this week. As the normal process, we presented the case to the grand jury in the same fashion with witnesses and evidence, and once we were done presenting, we exit the room. After the grand jury deliberated, they voted to indict Officers Burch and Schoenegge with reckless homicide, a felony in the 3rd degree in the death of Mr. Frank Eugene Tyson. Reckless homicide, as stated, is a 3rd degree felony with a potential of 36 months imprisonment and up to a $10,000 fine. I want to stress that these officers are innocent until proven guilty. As I prepare to answer questions to the press, I want to remind you I cannot share the details of grand jury testimony, and because this is a pending case, my ability to respond and provide information regarding the case is going to be limited, and we'll take questions at this time.
So reckless homicide, was that, when you speak to the grand jury, do you give them options? Do you recommend a charge? How did they arrive on reckless homicide and not some other charge?
So the grand jury reviews the evidence that's presented, and then they come to the conclusion what charges they're going to move forward with, and they vote on that, and that's how the indictment comes about. Any other questions?
Why does reckless homicide, why do you feel reckless homicide matches what happened here?
I believe that the grand jury thought that after evaluating the evidence that was presented, that it was the most fitting charge. You have to understand that if I go further in this conversation, it's contrary to what I just stated a few moments ago. And so based off of the information that was presented to them, they believe that that was the most accurate charge, and that's why they voted on it, and that's why they indicted him indicted those officers on those charges. Yes, sir.
Statistics are showing that since 2016, we have almost $24 million paid out in settlements, plus several others still pending. Currently, as far as the people dying and/or serious injury. Now, that's not even talking about the victims who haven't had that happen, that still don't have a voice due to the obvious problems that we're facing here in Stark County. What kind of deal can we get from the Stark County prosecutors with the limited choices that we do have as far as the vote coming up to choose, from any type of commitment from you guys to actually start getting the Department of Justice involved and start getting these people, other people, held accountable, not just the police, but those in charge of them?
So as the county prosecutor, I present cases to the grand jury as they're presented. My commitment is to effectuate justice in Stark County and to do what I've been elected to do. Certain things that you might want to be addressed may not be able to be addressed at this moment. It might require a conversation in a different setting at a different time for me to get clarification as to exact what you're asking. However, my commitment is to always to effectuate justice in this community, and that's what I will continue to do. Yes.
Of course, I appreciate the charges that you're going for, but myself, I am looking for a murder charge. Also, the other people that's involved. Looking at the videos, there were other so-called innocent bystanders that also help, if there are gonna be charges brought against them as well, because I don't think that they should have been involved. Being a police officer, you tell people that's not a police officer to stand back. They were involved too, so is charges gonna be brought up on them as well? Because I think charges need to be brought up on them as well, the people in the bar.
So there was no evidence and no indication that the charges would be necessary for those individuals at this time.
I was wondering, you said that the charges hold the felony 3. So we all know that with felony 3, you have no record, you have never been involved with police. You're probably going to get probation up to 5 years, and then if you do well on probation, you'll get off in a year, and everything's all done. So are we going to give them the maximum of that 3 of the felony 3? Are we going to give them the maximum they can get, or are we going to just let them plead out and they just go ahead and just get the year probation, which we probably get that? Because felony 3 is not that serious. It really isn't that serious.
So the judge in the case is ultimately responsible for the decision of what punishment an individual, if they're found guilty, they are responsible for that, and so I won't speak to that at this time.
But the
I won't speak to
prosecutor
that at this
asked
time.
the judge, are you-
Yes, go ahead.
You said you generally looked at all the evidence. Are you able to say, were the officers interviewed, and if so, did they express any remorse or anything along those lines, and anything that you saw or heard in the evidence?
I can't provide that, I'm sorry. Yes.
Kyle, is your office going to handle this prosecution exclusively, or are you going to co-counsel with an independent law firm? Second question, is the city going to be representing the officers, and do you have any indication as to whether they are going to have independent co-counsel?
Yes. Come on.
And third, well, no, just those two at the moment.
So my office will independently prosecute this case. There's not a mechanism where we co-counsel with criminal cases. We usually can get a special prosecutor on a case that we aren't going to prosecute, whether it's the AG's office or if it's another jurisdiction. That's the case, but this case isn't against the city of Canton. That's a civil case. This case is a criminal case only against those 2 officers. And so their attorneys, their defense attorneys, will handle their cases.
So you are not going to bring in a special counsel?
Not at this time.
And the city, to your knowledge, will not be representing the police officer?
Not at this time. I'm not aware of that. All I know is that they have their own counsel, and their counsel, however method they've gotten their counsel, I'm not clear on, but that might be questions that you all can ask them at a later time. However, I'm not aware that the city is even involved in their representation as of now.
Has the case been assigned to a judge?
Yes,
Which one?
Judge Farmer.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
As you can see from the community coming out here today, this is obviously, it's bringing up a lot of emotions. People are invested in this already, and the course of the case hasn't really started just yet. What do you have to say to the community that's watching this play out online right now and also later tonight when we see it?
The reality is this, that I have a job to do, and my job is to make sure that we present cases to the grand jury with fairness, in the right way, no matter who it is, present it like we've always done. And however our grand jury, we have 4 days of grand jury, individuals who have selected who live in Stark County, however they decide is how we have to move forward. One of the things I spoke of, when I was in council a few weeks ago, I told the people, I cannot guarantee the result of a grand jury proceeding. But what I can guarantee is that everyone will be treated fairly, the presentation of the case will be done accurately and thoroughly, and whatever happens afterwards, we will move forward accordingly. And that's exactly what we're doing.
Are you personally surprised with their decision on the charges?
Listen, I'm not going to give my own personal opinion about it. We go with the flow in all cases, generally, and as we progress through, if things changes, we reevaluate, as we will with any case. I mean, we have thousands of cases a year that we evaluate and that we prosecute and that we have to navigate through. And this case will be no different, no matter who the defendants are. We will still process it and operate the same exact way. Yes. And let me just say this real quick. Initially, our press conference was for press only, and so we were being open to allow community to participate, and so I'm going to limit further questions just so that we can move forward in that, but I'll go ahead and allow
I was
you.
just going to ask if you could tell us why and if you've ever called a press conference on a Saturday.
So I have not, and the reason why I did it is because I didn't want this step to fester long without you all hearing from my office. We had to wait until the officers were served and then subsequently arrested before we can let anybody know or say anything about a secret indictment. And those who know me, I follow the law. And so I had to wait until then before I could share any information. And then by that time, when we got confirmation that they were arrested or in custody, it was later in the evening. And so it's responsible for me to make sure that the press has enough time to get their representatives here and available. So that's why we called it today. Yes, sir.
So reckless homicide, what could or should the officers have done to not make this reckless homicide?
You tried it, and I appreciate the efforts, but I'm not going to disclose that. Any other press questions?
Yes, right here, sir.
Okay, that will conclude my comments at this time. Thank you so much. Thank you.
He follows the law. Unreal guys.
Yeah.
Try to ask him all the questions.
No justice!